So here's the first question, if I may, and you know this better than I do, but in a marketplace of publishing in which there are so many books on human sexuality and so many volumes wanting to address male-female relationships, can you just begin by helping us? What's the background for your work and what's some of the motivations that led you to giving time?
Sure. So I would say that the background for writing Why Can't We Be Friends was a real conflict that I was noticing in mixed messages
Hmm.
that I received about who I am as a woman and what that means. And in the book, I kind of start out by saying I grew up in what I feel like was a very healthy household in that way.
Hmm.
There were three of us siblings, two girls, boy in the middle, and we were all treated with the same dignity. We had the
Hmm.
same expectations that, as far as how we treat one another, how we serve in the house, what we are to become, like in pursuing intellectually, physically, and spiritually. Um, so I felt, the message there was that I'm valued, that I'm a sister,
Hmm.
um, and I'm valued as one. But then I noticed as I became like a teenager and getting older in the church that, first of all, the world's messages were very different. The messages coming from the outside are, you are to pursue pleasure for yourself and you are to use your sexuality in doing that. And it's like this autonomous thing. Um, the sexual revolution is like rampant, right? Um, but then, so the movie, I kind of use in the book that the movie When Harry Met Sally as a bit of a turning point too, because it was so popular. And when Billy Crystal says in the movie that, men and women can never be friends
Hmm.
because the sex part always gets in the way. Um, oh, that's a horrible message for women
Hmm.
right there. I mean, it's reductive to both men and women. But all of a sudden, women lose like their holistic value as people. We lose our personhood. And the strange part is that at the same time, this message is being told in the church as well. So while the church is wanting to combat the sexual revolution
Hmm.
and sin and immorality, we start hearing the message, which kind of starts, it's more tempered in the Billy Graham rule. And I can see as, maybe as a leader, you're going to have some different standards in what you're doing. But so Billy Graham kind of made a rule since he was so popular and away from home so often that, he wouldn't eat with a woman, ride in a car with a woman, some things like this to avoid temptation. But then this became like a blanket rule that leaders in the church were using for themselves,
Hmm.
who are pastoring women.
Yeah.
And then also just men in general start using. And I really noticed that, okay, Hollywood is becoming our teacher in relationships after all, right? I mean, men and women cannot be friends. And it extended into this whole like platonic relationship now that you cannot have. This really affects women in the sense that, I hear women in seminary who say that, they aren't afforded the same meetings with their professors that the men are in the group. That they feel like threats, even in the classroom,
Yeah.
like their very presence. And then I noticed as I was writing in Christian spaces and speaking in Christian spaces and doing conferences, um, how I was being treated this way some.
Yeah.
And it all came to a head. And I say this in the introduction of the book, I believe, when I found myself in a situation where, those of us who left out the back door of this restaurant, it turned out to be me and two men. My car was parked uh, several blocks away in a dark alley, unsafe place really in the city. And it was night and it was raining. And instead of offering me a ride to my car, or even offering to go get my car for me, like they didn't even have to have me with them. But I found myself walking alone in the rain at night down a sketchy alley thinking, this is so wrong. We have so messed this up. And I don't even feel like an actual person who deserves protection. I'm that much of a threat. And really, the threat wasn't that anything was going to happen in that car ride. The
Yes.
threat was appearances.
Mm.
So I just thought, this is the topic that you kind of don't want to touch because you know that it can be very controversial. And did I want to put myself in this label now? Do I want to deal with all this? But I really felt at that point that I had to. I felt like it's ridiculous. We need to be able to recover a better way that we look at one another and understand friendship and model something much healthier to the world.